콧물 나고 그리고 가래가 나는데 그렇게 뭐 누런 가래가 아니라 맑은 게 나. 기침도 좀 나고.
그냥 머리가 뭐가 띵하냐 아니면 머리가 못 탔어.
그냥 띵하고.
너무 하기가 하니
띵하고.
몹시 아프다 이런 거 없지.
네, 그렇게 하고.
사료 수시가 그 몸쓸 때 있어?
아니요.
허리 아프고.
없어요.
면 없어가지고 내가 이제 때려보면 진짜 가지고
알았어요? 그래볼게요.
얘는 아프다. 시간이 제가
왜 아픈지.
콧속인데 콧볼에 염증이 있어. 이래 자꾸 딴 데 갔으면 이런 거 안 해주면 참 잘했다.
Dialogue.
감기약은 어떤 거였어?
그냥 버텼어요.
약을 안 먹는 이유가 뭐 때문에 안 되는 거지?
약을 이제 보통 많이 먹으면 내성이 생겨서
누가 그랬을 거야?
뭐 이렇게 가족들이요.
의사가 그랬는 거야?
아니요. 근데 기사에서도 보면은 보통 약을
의사 말은 안 믿으시나? 지금 우리 제가 말씀하신 내용은 아무 의학적인 근거가 없는 굉장히 속설이에요. 네. 하나는 해서 약을 줄게.
네. 항생제 같은 거는 어떻게
들어가요.
들어가요?
모의환자 한번 뺐대. 그러면 잘 안 났죠?
네.
어떻게 해줘? 너도 해 어떻게 해?
어떻게 하는 게 좋을까?
빨리 낫고 싶으면 약을 좀 준비했어.
네. 그러면은
제가 감기 걸렸을 때 한번도 먹거든요.
네.
그리고 우리 가족들이 감기 걸렸을 때도 굉장히 심하게 써요. 정말 의사들이 물질적으로 쓰면 해안이거든요. 의사들이 감기 있어요.
그러면은 어느 정도는 다 치료가 될까요? 한 3일 정도 복용하면
의사들이 한번 먹어봐요.
네. 감사합니다.
주사는 맞아야지.
네?
주사 맞으냐? 주사도 한번 맞으면
주사 맞을 거죠?
주사를 좀 맞을래?
아니요.
응?
아니요.
주사를 했으면 맞아야 남들 주사를 맞다가 고생이면 또 주사를 안 맞아?
네.
또 고생해야 돼. 고생 좀 해.
면역력을 키워야지.
바이러스 가지고 힘들어. 바이러스 내년에 하나 있어. 주사는 맞아. 왜냐면 내일 토요일이고 내일 3일짜리고 또 일요일만 이틀 쉬잖아.
아니, 주사는
정말
네.
뭐 약을 많이 쓰는 게 뭐 문제냐라고 말씀하신다면 할 말이 없느냐? 할 말이 있습니다. 무슨 말씀이 있냐면 우선 감기를 국한하고 보더라도 이제 감기 걸리면 이제 사람들이 콧물 나고 뭐 목 아프고 기침하고 뭐 숨차고 가래. 그러면 뭐 다 하나하나 다 써야 되느냐? 이제 거기서 쓰게 되는 게 항생제 하나 기본 들어가고.
그러니까 열이 나기 때문에 열에 관련되는 거.
그다음에 콧물이 심하게 날 때는 항히스타민제라는 걸 쓸 수 있고요.
또 아프기 때문에 그 아프지 않게 쓰는 약물. 또는 기침이 있기 때문에 기침을 좀 완화시키는 약물. 또 가래가 있기 때문에 가래를 제거시켜주는 약물. 이렇게 다양하게 있는데
그렇게 약을 많이 먹다 보니까 약 소화대라고 소화제 하나 쓰고 뭐 이렇게 하다 보면은 5개 금방 넘어가죠.
위장약이 감기약 모의환자의 한 60% 정도가 위장약을 받았어요. 그 어떤 기대를 주나 하면 위장약을 주면 위장 부작용이 소위 속쓰림이나 소화 안 되는 게 없어질 거라고 생각하고 주는 거거든요. 근데 사실은 아무 없습니다. 근데 아마 그거는 환자들도 와서 그러죠. 제가 위가 좀 안 좋거든요. 그러잖아요. 그 얘기는 그거는 약 달라는 얘기입니다. 예, 위장약을. 실제로 근데 그 위장약은 사실은 불필요한 위장약이죠.
우리나라에서 한 해에 감기에 대해서 쓰는 약이 한 1조가량으로 추산을 하고 있거든요.
병원에 갑니다.
병원에 가서 진찰을 받으면 감기가 빨리 납니다.
병원에 열심히 가고 약도 열심히 먹어야 합니다.
병원에 가서 약을 지어옵니다.
병원에 가서 진료를
병원에 가서 진찰을 받아야 합니다.
감기는 병원에 가서 진료하고 치료하고 약을 받아 약을 먹어야 합니다.
Nou is het leuker als je daar even over nadenkt. Want anders krijg je straks allemaal hetzelfde antwoord. Daarom heb ik een kaartje gekregen. Met de vraag over. Ik heb 3 vragenwoorden geschreven. Maak het opschrijven, want anders krijg je kan jij je antwoord weer anders geven.
Ik ben Bente en ik word meestal verkouden als ik me koud aankleed en dan naar buiten ga. En ik word beter als ik in bed ga liggen en gezond eet.
Ik word dan weer beter na een paar dagen en ga ik vroeg naar bed en dan moet ik binnen blijven van mijn moeder.
En hoe ik beter word? Nou, Ja, eigenlijk snuit ik het steeds op en dan op een gegeven moment dan is mijn neus gewoon helemaal leeg. Dus dan valt er niks meer op te snuiven, dus dan is het over. En ik word wel beter. Nou, eigenlijk wacht ik gewoon. En warm in bed liggen. Nee, warm gekleed.
Come on in. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Dr. Dabrowski. Have a seat.
Hello, come in. Hello, good afternoon. Do have a seat. Thank you. Hello, my name is Dr. Lloyd.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는
How can I help you?
감기 증상이 있어서 왔습니다. 3일 전부터 기침이 나고 빨간 콧물과 가래가 나오고 그게 얼굴 나는 것 같아요.
Okay. Can you tell me what level of fever you had? Did you take your temperature?
Fühlen Sie sich richtig krank?
Have you been around any sick people lately?
And did you have any pain in your body at all? Any aches and pains?
Gibt es bei Ihnen wichtige Vorerkrankungen in der Vorgeschichte?
Are you taking anything? Did you take anything on your own now for this?
Sind Allergien bekannt bei Ihnen?
Are you normally fit and healthy?
Vor diesen 3 Tagen ist da irgendwas Besonderes gewesen? Haben Sie sich erkältet, verkühlt oder Arbeitsbelastung? Ist da?
Okay. Let me take a look at you. Okay. Can you take your coat off and you can just lie it on the chair over there?
All right. Well, would you mind if I examined you?
Ja, dann würde ich Sie gerne mal untersuchen, die Lunge abhorchen, in den Hals gucken.
Can you open your mouth very wide for me? And can you say ah? Thank you very much.
Die Zunge ist so ein bisschen belegt. Haben Sie was mit dem Magen?
Just want to check here. Any tenderness?
Now, I would like to listen to your chest. Is that okay with you?
Oder rauchen Sie?
And do you smoke at all?
Ja. Wie viel rauchen Sie? So?
얼마나 많이 태우세요?
Schachtel, wie viele Jahre schon?
Any pain or pressure here?
그 부분에 아픈
Up here?
곳이 있습니다.
One more? Okay. And let me just listen to the front. Can we just pull this? Okay. Take another deep breath. Good. One more.
I think the good news is that your chest is completely clear. You do not have any lumps or tenderness in your neck, and your throat looks fine. There is no pus in your throat.
Your symptoms seem very mild to me, and that's good for you.
As you are a fit and healthy young man, this is what we call a self-limiting illness. It is going to get better.
The the lungs sound good. I don't think you have a pneumonia or anything like that. Your throat looks good. I don't think you have a strep throat or anything, and I don't feel anything unusual in your neck.
Also ich denke, das ist ein harmloser Virusinfekt, den Sie haben.
So I think this is probably a mild viral illness, and really we just need time for you to get better and rest.
Das ist keine schwere Erkrankung, aber es kann sein, dass eben durch die vielen Jahre, die Sie rauchen, dass da die Funktion der Schleimhäute nicht mehr so in Ordnung ist, dass Sie eben leichter auch Infekte bekommen.
Usually it is a 5 or a 6 day illness, so in 2 or 3 days you will feel much better.
Sie müssen den Körper unterstützen, dass er die Krankheit selber überwindet. Das heißt eben, dass Sie Ihren Lebensstil verändern, weniger rauchen und sich vitaminreich ernähren und jetzt was nehmen, was den Schleim löst, was die Selbstreinigungskräfte der Schleimhäute unterstützt. Und das wird erstmal dann reichen.
It is going to get better without any treatment from me.
But if you're not feeling better in the next 48 hours, 72 hours, or you're getting worse, don't hesitate to call me, and I can be reached at any time. And we, if symptoms change, we could always, focus on new symptoms that occur.
Okay, auf Wiedersehen.
Okay, well, very nice to meet you. Get better soon. Okay, all right, bye-bye.
Okay, yeah, very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming, okay? If you're not feeling better, call me, okay? Okay.
I'm from the old school. I'm from the Caribbean. I don't believe in drugs. I believe in natural healing.
I don't really take anything for it. I just try and get some rest and eat properly and get over it. Yeah.
Usually I just think that it's gonna pass away and I don't worry about that.
Nö, also ich glaube, es gibt keine Medikamente dagegen also es geht von selbst wieder weg.
I don't know. I'm not really worried about the common cold. I've always gotten over it.
Ja, goedemorgen. Ja. Nou, zeg het maar.
3일 전부터 기침이
나고요. 콧물이 맑은 콧물이 나고.
Oké, bent u ook misselijk geweest? Overgegeven? Herkent u het? Hebt u het al eens eerder gehad? Roken? Stoppen. Nee, dus het is dus gewoon een soort verkoudheid. Niks bijzonders. Gaat vanzelf over. U hoeft daar geen penicilline voor te gebruiken. Als u zich vervelend voelt, dan mag u een paracetamoltablet nemen. Maar verder zijn er geen medicijnen nodig. Oké. There you can go. Bye. Als er dus sprake is van een onschuldige infectie die ook vanzelf overgaat, ja, dan belast je het lichaam met allerlei medicijnen, terwijl dat niet nodig is. Dus het is ook niet iets wat ik alleen doe. Alle Nederlandse artsen doen dat zo.
En onze ervaring is dat we nooit medicijnen geven en de patiënt wordt ook beter. Het voordeel is alleen dat de patiënt hier weet ook dat hij, als hij bij de dokter komt, dat hij zeer waarschijnlijk niets zal krijgen. Dus hij gaat zonder recept naar huis.
There are so many stories about the things that may help against common illnesses like the flu, and most of them are not true. They may make you feel better, but they do not actually make you better. They do not change the course of disease, let's put it that way. And I think it's important to educate people about that, because people are misusing this belief of people by selling medication or things that they claim have health effects that are absolutely not proven and I think don't exist.
Steek je hand eens op als je nu verkouden bent. Wow. En, dankjewel, neem nu even de hand weg, dan komt een tweede vraag. Steek je hand op als je wel eens ziek thuis geweest bent. Gaan er naar de dokter als ze ziek zijn? Tenminste, als ze afgelopen jaar je ziek, wie is toen naar de dokter geweest? Ja, en welke kinderen zijn ziek en zegt je vader of moeder, blijf maar thuis, want je moet het even uitzien. Die gaan niet naar de dokter. Bij verkoudheidje, hè? Hoe wij verkouden worden, ja, wij kregen ook goed te eten en we moeten letten goed op onze voeding altijd. En dus als we ziek waren, waren we gewoon ook ziek en dan hadden we een griepje en dan waren we thuis en dat kon ook. En dan werden wij ook weer beter door lekker goede verzorging, lekker gezellig thuis zijn, lekker in bed liggen met een kruikje en een boekje en dan was het ook zo weer over.
Because we know that 90%, 95% of all illnesses are going to get better on their own without any treatment from me as a doctor. And every pill that a doctor gives, there is always the possibility that you will get side effects from the pills. So the more pills you take, the more chances you are that you're going to get more illness from the pills than you are going to get from the disease itself. So it's in the UK, we would say that was very bad medicine to give all those pills for that sort of illness.
Mm-hmm. Und die Medikamente müssen auch vom Organismus verarbeitet werden, von der Leber, von der Niere, dass sie den Organismus belasten, eher belasten auch. Und wenn man jung ist, kann man das verkraften, aber wenn man eben so mit Erkrankungen umgeht, dann verhindert man, dass der Körper selber auch sich stärkt oder auch Abwehrkräfte entwickelt, um diese banalen Infekte zu überwinden.
In my mind, and I think he had the typical symptoms of a viral illness, which would not respond to antibiotics. His other symptoms were not serious enough to warrant any other prescription medications. And if he didn't get better with some over-the-counter medications, such as the decongestant I mentioned for symptomatic relief, I could prescribe him something a little stronger, but I don't think that was necessary.
Omdat alle medicijnen belasten de lever en de nieren, ja, dus, en de stofwisseling. Dus je moet dat alleen doen als je denkt dat dus de voordelen voor de patiënt groter zijn dan de nadelen.
Ich denke, dass es oft Bequemlichkeit ist, dass man einfach so nach einem bestimmten Schema dann Medikamente verordnet. Man macht sich dann nicht die Mühe und fragt nach, was ist mit dem Patienten, warum wird er krank. Man braucht keinen Kontakt aufbauen, man muss sich nicht in Beziehung setzen, man reicht einfach ein starkes Mittel rüber und der Patient denkt, er hat was Starkes bekommen und ist dann zufrieden.
And it's hard to convince somebody that not giving them medications is better for them than giving them medications. So that's a difficult thing to do, and it involves patient education, which is it takes time for the doctor to do it. If they're seeing 30 or 40 patients, they may not have time, and it's easier for them to do this than to educate the patient.
Het stellen van de diagnose, een verkoudheid is ook in Korea een verkoudheid. En ook overal is dat een verkoudheid. En iedere dokter weet het verschil tussen verkoudheid en een longontsteking. Dat is geen probleem. Alleen hoe daarmee om te gaan is heel erg afhankelijk van de cultuur, van het feeding-systeem, etc. Laat zeggen dat het beter voor de patiënten zou zijn als er wat minder medicijnen wordt voorgeschreven. Ja, de patiënt wordt er niet eerder beter van. Hè, en het levert alleen maar een belasting op van zijn lichaam. Plus, er zijn toch ook nog redelijke kosten mee gemoeid. Die misschien beter anders besteed zouden kunnen worden.
If the doctor gives lots of pills, the patient may go away and say, that was a good doctor because he gave me lots of medicine. So next time I get ill, I will come back and see him. If you get no pills, he might say, well, he's not a very good doctor. I will not go and see him again because he does not give me any medicine. In this country, everybody has to come and see me if they are registered with me. So I don't mind what they think when they go out. All I want to do is to make sure they get the best care.
감기가 들었거든요.
아, 감기증상.
네, 목근이 컬컬하고 기침 나고
아,
머리도 좀.
여기는 없는데 감기 걸렸어요.
또 기침 나지?
목 아파요? 콧물이 너무 많이 나와요. 콧물 너무 많이 나와.
완전 심히 좋게.
아, 몸살.
목감기 때문에.
감기가요. 네, 저 감기가 너무 많이 나가지고.
저는 감기라는 질병이 우리나라에서는 대단히 오해되고 있다고 생각해요. 그러니까 실제로 제일 흔히 돌아다니는 말이 뭔가 하면 감기는 만병의 근원이다. 왜 만병의 근원이죠? 감기는 흔하지만 만병의 근원은 아닙니다. 감기는 오히려 우리가 감기를 관리하는 과정에서 저는 문제를 만드는 거라고 봐요. 이게 감기는 놔두면 되게 그냥 2주 내지 3주면 3주면, 3주면 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 3주면
사료 수시갖고 구멍 쓸 때 있어? 아니요. 허리 아프고. 없어요. 면 없어가지고 내가 이제 때려만 밑에 가지고 있어요. 꽃밭인데 꽃밭 염증이 저기를 잡고 딴 데 갔으면 이런 많이 주면 참 잘했다. 그거는 맞아. 왜냐면 내일 토요일이고 내일 3일절이고 또 일요일만 이틀 쉬잖아. 그래서 나는 잠만 있네. 그럼 이쪽으로 쭉 내려가면 말이야. 약국이라고 있어. 이거 아는? 내 모든 약이 그건 뭐 별의별 약이 다 있어. 내는 다 있어. 딴 데 가면 약이 없을 거 아니야. 약이 나오면 약이 열심히 먹어. 그랬어?
뭐 물어봐요. 어른이 알아서 쳐주면.
이게 계속 다니는 병원이니까 믿거라고 다니니까.
굳이 제가 뭐 의학 상식이 뭐 이렇게 좀 있는 것도 아니고 그냥 그러다 보니까는 뭐 의사 선생님 처방 내주면은 그냥 그거에 따라서 그냥 약만 먹고 뭐 그런 식이죠. 네.
전문가의 말이니까.
그 의사를 믿고 신뢰하고서 약을 타는 거기 때문에.
그래도 전문의인데 예, 되도록이면은 말을 따르는 편이라서
일단은 말을 좀 들을 것 같아요. 예. 의사 말을 좀 믿는 편이라서.
저는 진짜 쉬어요. 쉬고요. 집에 가서 따뜻한 물로 샤워하고 좋은 음식 많이 먹고 제가 그걸 느끼겠어요. 약을 많이 먹으면 정말 약 때문에 몽롱한지 감기 때문에 노곤한지 모르겠더라고요. 그래서 저는 쉬려고 노력을 하는데 그리고 제 주변에 있는 사람들한테 감기 걸리면 쉬라고 그러는데 이게 바쁘고 무슨 일이 있고 그러면은 못 쉬죠. 이제 제가 감기 때문에 병원을 가게 되는 경우는 정말 급한 일이 있을 때 뭐 이럴 때는 감기 때문에 가게 되는데 그럴 때는 병원 가면서 참 서글퍼요. 이거 제가 쉬면 낫는다라는 거 알고 있는데 그러면서도 그냥 또 뭐 진통제 가서 먹고 그다음에
대개는 약을 잘 안 먹는데 또 저희 식구 중에서도 약 좋아하는 사람들이 있습니다. 그래서 저희 집엔 약 딱 3가지밖에 없습니다. 진통소염제, 항히스타민제 2가지네요. 요거 2가지만 줍니다. 그러니까 이제 저희 집안에서는 저를 썩 신뢰하지 않죠. 근데 아무도 병원에 안 갑니다. 왜냐하면 이제 제가 그 연구하면서 아이들하고 우리 집사람하고 얘기를 많이 했기 때문에 우리 집사람도 이제 거의 선수입니다.
글쎄요. 가지 않기 때문에 처방을 왜 받았는지는 모르겠지만 뭐 일단 약을 물론 필요에 의해서 처방하면 먹지만 내가 가벼운 감기이기 때문에 일단 가지 않기 때문에 특히 먹을 필요성은 없게 되는 것이죠.
I would not take them. It's too much.
It's probably a lot.
Um,
and not helpful and dangerous.
I would not let my daughter have any of these medicines.
Het zijn geen snoepjes.
And not helpful and dangerous.
You're likely to get quite a lot of side effects.
제가 감기를 하는 걸 먹거든요.
Ah, very interesting.
약이 나오면 약이 열심히 먹어.
My goodness.
빨리 낫는 것 같아요.
No, absolutely not.
약을 먹죠. 네, 빨리 낫는 것 같아요.
I don't see a benefit to these medicines.
diese Medikamente? Das muss man alles nehmen.
No way. No way.
No. That's a lot of things for a cold.
Are there different types of tablets?
Dat kan ik zo niet zien.
I have no idea.
Nou, er zitten wel medicijnen tussen die wij niet zouden voorschrijven en ook niet zouden afleveren. Op zich hebben we al deze medicijnen wel in voorraad in de apotheek. Maar ja, antibiotica voor beginnende verkoudheid doen we sowieso niet. Enzymen, ik zou niet zo goed weten wat ze daarmee bedoelen, welke medicijnen er dan voorgeschreven zijn. Antihistaminica geven we niet bij verkoudheid, alleen bij allergie. Ja, en die andere medicijnen hebben we ook wel in voorraad. Ja, decongestans, dat is eigenlijk die neusspray wat je zou geven. En voor de rest, bij verkoudheid geven we dit lang niet allemaal. Ja? Ja, goed, dankjewel. Geen probleem.
So, für die gleiche Situation hier können wir abnehmen. Das ist der
Could you take a look at this?
Sure.
And then that's the whole package for only one dose, but 3 times a day.
For how long?
3-4 days.
My goodness. And this is for the same illness that I...
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's amazing. Well, there are 2 antibiotics, so that is very strong, and the chances of having side effects from those antibiotics are very high.
Es kann sein, dass er schon auch eine bakterielle Superinfektion hat. Das zeigt sich aber generell dann doch darin, dass das Fieber höher ist, dass das Krankheitsgefühl stärker ist, dass das Sekret eitrig ist. Das ist alles nicht bei ihm der Fall.
An anti-inflammatory enzyme, very interesting. We never use those in the UK.
And then there's an antihistamine as well, which I'm not sure that would really benefit the patient in any way.
Antitussives, well, antitussives are for stopping the cough. We know they do not work. There's lots of evidence they show.
Also der Schleim zeigt ja an, dass der Körper sich reinigen will und das hilft ja auch, den Infekt zu überwinden. In dem Moment, wo ich das unterdrücke, hat der Patient vielleicht ein paar Stunden Ruhe, aber der Schleim bleibt in den Lungen drin oder in der Nase und die Heilung wird dadurch eigentlich verzögert.
Mucolytics are used for people with very severe chest disease.
And they're potentially dangerous because they could raise the patient's blood pressure and cause heart disease or heart attack, even in young children.
And then one digestant. So that means that's to protect the stomach against all the other pills. So you're taking just one pill to protect from all the other pills as well. That's extraordinary.
이게 이제 감기 환자에게 처방된 약이고, this is medication for common cold patient from Korea.
They get all this?
Yes, it's 10 tablets.
And for how long?
Voor 3
Hoe
dagen.
lang? 3 dagen?
Voor 3-4 dagen.
En wat kost dit? dit is belachelijk. Dit is heel erg dat dit gebeurt. Ik kan echt zeggen dat van de lijst van pillen die hierin zit, geen van de medicijnen een bewezen effect heeft op het verloop van de ziekte. Dus je zult er geen dag korter ziek van zijn. Sommige van de medicijnen kunnen je misschien iets beter laten voelen. Maar eigenlijk denk ik nog niet eens dat er iets tussen zit wat je beter laat voelen.
Buikpijn? Heb je ook buikpijn? Heb je ook keelpijn? Nou, ze heeft nu geen koorts.
Nee. Gisteravond. Die is mooi.
Zo.
Die hebben we nog nooit gezien, hè?
Zo'n luisterkonijn. Mag ik even zo dat... Ja? Gaan we even luisteren. Doe maar zuchten zo. Niet ontstoken. Nee hoor. Nee. Is allemaal goed. Zo, mag je weer afkomen? Hoppakee. Gaan we even stop schrijven. Nou, het gaat beter worden.
Ja.
Oké.
Dank u wel. Tot ziens.
Tot ziens.
Mijn dochtertje is al de hele week ziek en ik dacht toch even voor het weekend even de dokter er naar te laten kijken of het een infectie of iets is. Want ze heeft telkens koorts en dan gaat het weer over en dan weer koorts. Dus ik vond het lang duren, zeg maar.
한 주간 계속 아파서 나오셨다고요? 그러면 wat heeft de dokter eigenlijk voorgeschreven of gezegd?
Niks voorgeschreven, hij heeft alles gecontroleerd en het is waarschijnlijk gewoon een virus. En, ja, en dus ze moeten gewoon uitzieken. Ja.
Zo, voor een onschuldige virusinfectie. Ja. Ja. Nee, dat doen we in Nederland niet. Zeker niet. Nee. Waarom gebeurt dat? Dat gebeurt omdat je dus geïnfecteerd wordt met een verkoudheid, geen virus. Er zijn er heel veel van, meer dan 20.000. Dat zijn griepvirussen, verkoudheidsvirussen. En het zijn onschuldige aandoeningen die dus in het Engels self-limiting zijn, gaan vanzelf over. En je hoest het dus aan, gaat door de lucht.
Gustav Klimt war ein Maler, der in der Wiener Kaiserzeit seine Karriere begonnen hat. Zunächst er hat Allegorien geschaffen, die so interessant waren, aber auch so morbide waren teilweise. Also vor allem diese beiden Dinge, das Erotische und das Todesmotiv, haben ihn für die Bürger auch teilweise sehr schwer akzeptabel gemacht. Er hat in einer eigenen Realität gelebt und ich glaube, dass auch diese Fieberträume das sehr verstärkt haben. Ja, die Symptome der spanischen Grippe sind sehr, sehr stark. Sehr starke Kopfschmerzen, sehr hohes Fieber, Gliederschmerzen. Es ist eine absolute allgemeine Beeinträchtigung der Gesundheit. Vor allem aber hat diese Krankheit auch zur Folge, dass man geistig, psychisch sehr, sehr stark verändert ist. Und sie sind der spanischen Influenza zum Opfer gefallen, die damals Millionen von Menschen hinweggerafft hat.
The 1918 influenza, pandemic influenza, was by far the most dangerous one and which caused the most morbidity and mortality, meaning the most disease and the most death. So at that time, people thought it was a bacterium. Only later, about almost 15, 20 years later, it became clear that it was a virus. So influenza and the common cold are really apples and oranges. They are caused by both diseases. Influenza and the common cold are caused by viruses. However, these viruses are very, very different. Influenza virus vaccines are only protective against influenza and cannot have no effect whatsoever on common cold.
And soon after, towards the end of the 1950s and 1960s, we had the isolation of the first viruses causing the cold, the rhinoviruses. And then the problem was, it wasn't one virus, the rhinovirus. We discovered there were 100 types of rhinovirus. And then we discovered that there were many other different viruses, all causing this same common problem of the common cold. It is a disease that is caused by over 200 different types of viruses. The viruses give us the similar symptoms, so it's not possible to say whether it's a rhinovirus or a coronavirus or a respiratory syncytial virus. They all give us the coughs and sneezes and runny nose. I think the 1960s was the time when the viruses were being discovered, and people were very excited, thinking that they would be able to develop a vaccine or some medicine. You're right, some of the centres, the big centres, have closed, and the reason is, I think, that no cure was found. And people become disillusioned. They thought in the 1960s that just like polio or smallpox, we would have a vaccine or a cure. But we do not have that vaccine at present. So there was no cure. And I'm doubtful if we will ever find a single cure, because it is not a single disease, it's a mixture of diseases.
People have always had colds. Probably cavemen had colds. Runny nose and a sore throat, but they were called catarrhs. And a catarrh was just a runniness. And that's what people thought it was. They used to call it a flux. Things would run out of your nose, run out of your mouth, or your eyes. You could have a catarrh anywhere. we say, feed a cold and starve a fever. So people would say you should eat a lot when you have a cold. Other people would say, no, when you have a cold, you shouldn't eat too much. But so people tried things like that. And then they tried local remedies that they swallowed. And I'm sure that everybody in the audience has a favorite treatment for their cold. None of them work. But since none of them work, they all work. That when there is no good treatment, there are 100 treatments.
어우 독한데? 여보, 감기도 하나 사오지 그래. 자네 감기 걸렸구먼. 독한데. 이봐, 자네 나 보면 생각나는 거 없어?
아, 시작부터 확 잡아주는 거? 복잡한 감기에 잘 들어요. 감기?
And I can understand families are going to watch your documentary and they're going to say, this guy, he just doesn't like medicine. He thinks that his patients are going to like this. I've been taking these medicines my whole life and they work. I've been on the other side and I've watched documentaries where I've said, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But the evidence is the evidence. And the doctors can't justify what's happening in Korea cannot be justified with the large weight of medical evidence that we have. These medicines don't work for colds. Antibiotics don't work for colds, and those are the facts. These are not things that one doctor like myself is making up. This is the large body of evidence that's throughout the medical literature across the world.
And so they've done studies that have used a medicine, like a cough and cold medicine, and also a placebo. What a placebo is it's a medicine that looks and tastes like the regular medicine, but doesn't have any medicinal properties. And when they've done those studies and then had a group that took no medicine, they found that they got better at the same rate of time. So whether you got the medicine, the placebo, or you got no medicine, in general, all groups got better at the same amount of time.
Dit is puur placebo-effect als je hier beter van gaat voelen. Als je 10 placebo-tabletten in dezelfde vorm zou gieten, zouden ze net zo goed werken als deze medicijnen die u hier nu aan me geeft.
Some watching this program might say, well, I've taken the medicines and I feel better because I've taken them. And I would answer that by two things. One is that they were going to get better anyway. The second thing would be is that there's a large placebo effect by taking medicines, that by taking something, your body thinks that you feel that you're doing better. And the third thing is that you've been told by advertising and by the box for so many years, for your whole life, that these medicines work, that you start to believe that if the box says it works, then it's going to work. So you've been misled by the advertising for a long time.
Okay, my name's Alexandra Richmond and I'm a health and beauty consumer analyst. Within our research, we found out as well that 60% of people in the UK have suffered from a cold in the past 12 months. And this is one of the key reasons, obviously, why it's an attractive market to manufacturers.
Doctor, and that's what they prescribed for a cold.
Oh my goodness.
But it's like really beginning of the cold, they have a...
Oh my gosh, you'd rattle if you jumped up and down after taking all of those. Gosh, it's no wonder it's such a big market then if you've got products for absolutely everything. I think here in the UK people are very much, they want convenience, they want to deal with all of their symptoms in one hit, and so they wouldn't necessarily take so many separate tablets for a cold. That's crazy.
The biggest markets are markets aimed at essentially normal people. If you have a drug that's aimed toward curing an unusual illness, then they don't make as big a profit as if they can sell drugs to essentially normal people. And so there are a lot of essentially normal people who have colds, 2 or 3 colds a year. If they can sell drugs, if they can convince these people that these drugs are going to cure their colds or make it significantly better, then they have an enormous market, both over-the-counter and prescription drugs. So it's in their interest to convince the public that these illnesses are dangerous, that they really should be taking these drugs. Now, it's interesting that in Korea, they seem to be concentrating on the common cold.
I wonder about the pharmaceutical companies and their incentives.
Dat er heel veel geld mee verdiend wordt. En dat is denk ik het enige belang van deze pillen, dat er geld verdiend wordt.
But my concern is not the welfare of the pharmaceutical companies. My concern is for my patients and the children that I treat. Because it's easy, patients feel satisfied when they leave because they have something in their hand. If I send somebody home and say, just wait a few more days and it'll get better, and I don't take the time to explain to them why I'm not giving them a prescription or giving them pills, they can be frustrated. So it's just much easier for their doctor to give them a prescription and say, take these 4 pills and you'll feel better in 3 or 4 days. The family walks out and says, I got medicine, I'm going to feel better. They're going to the doctor because they want to be fixed. It takes a little bit more time to explain to them that there's no magic medicine that's going to fix this illness.
그러면 어느 정도는 더 치료가 될까요? 한 3일 정도 복용하면.
Because the patient who goes away with no medicine and gets better will realize that the next time he becomes ill with the same illness, he does not need to go and see a doctor. So he will get better on his own without seeing a doctor. So he will have learnt how to look after the illness himself. The other doctor will think, the other patient will say, I got better because of the medicine that I got at the doctor. And so when he gets ill again, he will go and see the doctor. So it also changes the way that patients think about disease. If they always get medicines from the doctor when they go, it means that they will always come back. So it makes the health service and doctors much busier if you give lots of medicine.
Ik denk dat de Koreaanse patiënten zich goed moeten afvragen of al die medicijnen wel nodig zijn. En dat ze aan een dokter moeten vragen wat er gebeurt als ze die medicijnen niet nemen. En heel vaak zal het dan zo zijn dat de dokter dan moet erkennen dat het zonder die medicijnen ook overgaat.
제가 잘 약을 원래 잘 안 먹어요. 그래서 어떻게 될까요?
After 300 yards, you have reached your destination.
Okay. Very interesting. I assume this is what somebody takes each day. We wouldn't normally give an antihistamine unless the person has had the cold for more than a week. Then it would help. But if it's just been a few days, we wouldn't bother with that. And the digestants, no, we wouldn't bother with that. The only other point I'd make is some of these are quite strong medicines.
Verkoudheid.
Verkoudheid.
Ja. Daar gaat het over.
Je herkent die dingen ook.
Ja, merendeel wel. Maar het is echt waanzinnig. Oké. Ja, ik ben echt verbaasd. Maar als allerbelangrijkste dus geen antibiotica voor common cold. Want dat is echt schadelijk Voor de patiënt, maar ook voor het ontwikkelen van resistentie.
Could a medicine be a problem when you're getting a cold? If it's an antibiotic, yes, we don't need antibiotics.
White sputum for 2 days?
Yes. So I think the interesting one on this list, which I didn't, I didn't say, is the antibiotic. So, in fact, in different countries, between 40 and 60% of people who have a cold are given an antibiotic. And there really isn't evidence that it makes people get better more quickly. And actually, there have been studies to show that people actually come back to the doctor more often if they've been given an antibiotic because they have complications like a rash or diarrhea, which has resulted from inappropriate antibiotic use.
If you look at the United Kingdom, we discovered in 1950 that antibiotics were no good for common cold. Many clinical trials were done with penicillin, which was one of the first antibiotics, and later with other antibiotics, because someone came forward and said, look, we've given these people antibiotics and the common cold is cured. But the problem is you need to do a properly controlled clinical trial. Antibiotic against a placebo. And then what you find out is both groups cure naturally, because we cure the common cold with our own body. We don't need the antibiotics.
You know, when the doctor gives somebody with a cold an antibiotic, it's not an antibiotic directed toward a specific germ. You just have a virus, a cold virus. So it's just an antibiotic taken off the shelf. Probably a broad spectrum antibiotic. That means an antibiotic that's effective against a lot of different germs. If you take antibiotics for every single cold, you run a serious risk of growing resistant organisms, resistant bacteria. The antibiotics don't kill the cold viruses, as I told you, but they will kill the bacteria.
The antibiotic will kill many, many of the bacteria within the body. The problem is it kills the friendly bacteria as well as any others. For every single cell of our body, we have 100 bacteria on the skin and in the gut, and these are friends in many cases. We don't want to kill our friends, because when we kill our friends, the enemies move in, and you end up perhaps with a problem in the stomach, or a problem in the bladder, or some other part of the body, or maybe a fungus will develop in the body. So please, please, keep away from the antibiotics when you have a cold. You must be confident and strong and know that your body will get rid of the viruses. Antibiotics will only create problems with common cold.
안녕하세요. 저는 6살 유나입니다.
유나가요. 감기 기운이 좀 있어요. 기침, 있었는데 지금 좀 나아진 것 같고요. 언제부터 시작했어요? 한 4월 됐어요. 코로 막혀요. 코 답답해하는 정도까지는 아니었고요. 어디 잠은 잘 자는 것 같아요? 네, 잠은 잘 자는데. 먹는 것도 왼쪽으로 먹어요? 네. 이번에 감기가 좀 심하게 돌아요. 그렇죠. 네. 그래가지고 이번 동네에서도 많고 중량도 많이 생기고 지금 안 드는 게 10살인 거죠? 네. 힘도 별로 안 나나 봐요. 나오지 않는 주말까지 먹게 하고 있을게요. 네. 3일분입니다. 네. 약해. 와서 살을 씻고 네, 감사합니다. 약은 어떤 게 처방되나요? 약요? 네. 기침에 대한 거 하고 이제 그 감기에 대한 거. 항생제 같은 거. 항생제 약간 넣었어요. 중요한 걸까봐. 중요한 거. 네, 요번에 중요한 많이 와요.
The patient, and the left side is the amount of it.
I would not let my daughter have any of these medicines.
Why not?
Clear nasal discharge for 3 days.
Only very rarely would you have an antibiotic needed. So we find that 95 out of 100 children are getting an antibiotic when they don't need it. This is the problem.
So I can't know what these are, you know, just by looking at them, but I see that there's a lot of pills here. Different types of medicines have different kinds of side effects. So the decongestants can cause problems like making your heart rate go very rapid, making your blood pressure go up. Also, you can get abnormal heart rhythms with those medicines. And also, one thing that's very interesting that people don't know is you can actually get what's called a psychotic reaction. So young children who have taken the medicines might feel or think that they have like spiders or bugs crawling on them. And when you actually stop the medicine, those signs and symptoms go away. In addition, in Baltimore City, we've had 4 children who have died of these preparations. And the FDA then looked at over the last 30 years in the United States and found that there were over 52 deaths of young children from cough and cold medications.
When is cold medicine is needed for the children?
My feeling is that it's never needed. And parents love their children. It's hard to see your child look uncomfortable. And so, of course, a loving parent is going to want to do something active and do whatever they can for their child. But I think it's very important that people know that these medicines, studies have looked at that and they don't work. They don't help decrease a lot of the symptoms of cough or runny nose, and there's also the potential danger that I mentioned earlier. So I think it's very important for parents to be well educated about this and look at the risks and benefits of these medications in deciding whether they should give their child these medications. Certainly, I would strongly recommend that a parent of a child who's 2 or younger not give these medications.
At all?
At all.
And can they just wait until their children get over?
Absolutely. So why invest so much money in something that's not going to help your child and has potentially bad side effects? Remember, I'd mentioned earlier that we've looked back, and over 30 years, over 50 children have died from cough and cold medicines and from some of the side effects. Another, the Center for Disease Control, which is a large center in the United States, have looked at this, and over the last 2 years, 1,500 children who are 2 or less have presented to emergency rooms from bad side effects from these preparations. So there is a potential danger of these preparations, and they don't help. So from my perspective, why use the money? Why put a child or a patient at risk if we know it doesn't help and there's potential harm? The antibiotics cannot be used to prevent. On rare occasions, a very bad cold could turn into a pneumonia or turn into a sinus infection that could be caused by a bacteria, and you might need an antibiotic for that. But that's usually when the symptoms have lasted for 2 or 3 weeks. The antibiotics will not necessarily prevent you from getting a bacterial infection. And so I think it's important for the doctors in your country to help parents to realize, again, that there are dangers to using the medicines, there's cost, and there's side effects, and to really target their use for when they're really needed.
I know that if you are a mother or a father and your child has an ear infection or a throat infection or maybe coughing, you run to the doctor and you say, you want something strong. You want an antibiotic because your child is ill. But remember, your child is ill with a common cold virus, not with a bacteria. It's very rare for the children to get a bacterial infection, and giving them an antibiotic immediately puts them at risk. It will upset all of their stomach. Remember, the antibiotics can also affect the development of the bones and the teeth within the child, so you're putting them at risk unnecessarily.
In Korea. En in Korea is het probleem van resistentie al groot, weet ik. En het wordt alleen maar groter en er komt een moment dat ook bacteriën niet meer te behandelen zijn met antibiotica. Waarom niet? Omdat er dus kilo's antibiotica voor een verkoudheid worden uitgedeeld waar het helemaal niet voor helpt. Het enige wat er gebeurt is dat de bacterie resistent wordt. En als je wel het antibioticum nodig hebt, dan werkt het niet meer. Dus het moet echt, antibiotica voor een common cold zijn zinloos.
So I think the people really need to have the confidence to know that they're not going to die with a common cold. They should wait, and they will cure. Of course, what happens is they go to the doctor and they say, I need an antibiotic. You must give me an antibiotic. The pharmacist, give me an antibiotic. They take the antibiotic, and of course the cold cures anyway. They believe it's the antibiotic that's done this. It's not.
제가 감기를 한 적이 없거든요. 네. 그리고 우리 가족들이 감기 걸렸을 때도 굉장히 심하셨어요. 그러나 의사들이 적극적으로 쓰는 게 아니거든요. 의사들이 하는 게 있어요.
Experience is from the 19th century. In the middle of the 20th century, we realized that you need clinical trials. You need randomized, controlled clinical trials to know whether a drug is effective or not, because experience is too subject to bias. There is no way an individual doctor can say that this antibiotic cures colds. There's no way, because he hasn't done a randomized controlled clinical trial, a double-blind randomized controlled clinical trial. And the clinical trials have shown, and the biological science has shown, that antibiotics do not cure the common cold. They have no effect on cold viruses. What they do have an effect on is complications of the common cold caused by bacteria. That they can cure.
Or did human beings succeed in developing a cure for the cold? Well, not human beings thinking about it, but nature has developed a cure.
So Our bodies are really amazing, and there is, for people who are in general healthy, there is a very well orchestrated way that your body reacts to any kind of virus. And what happens is that there's different kind of cells that rev up in your body that then attack the virus and help to eliminate the virus over several days.
And our immune system, the cells that make up the immune system and the viruses, have been fighting together for millions of years. And we are still here, and the viruses are still here. Many battles, but the war is not finished yet.
The cold is the same cold now as 100 years, 500 years. What's changed? Meaning. That's the important thing is, it's very hard to just let it be what it is. It just is what it is. That's enough.
언제